I have a simple rule: don't worry about criticism from people whose counsel I never seek. That might seem silly, rude, or perhaps even arrogant, but I've come to find that in our hyper-connected culture, too many of us spend too much time worrying about the opinions of individuals who, quite frankly, have no bearing on our lives. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan with a reflection on life and liberty. As a teenager in the mid-1980s, I only had to be cool enough for my peers in small-town Texas, and as anyone who knew me can attest, that wasn't very cool. The idea that I needed to worry about what someone in New York thought of me was laughable, not to mention London, Beijing, or wherever else. While those pre-internet days perhaps allowed us all to be a bit more parochial than might be possible today, there is something to be said about realistically defining whose approval we seek and why. More than 20 years ago, I was chatting with a now very former GOP member of the Texas legislature. He explained to me that conservatives had to have realistic expectations about what Republicans could deliver if they took control of the House, which they did several months later in the 2002 election. He told me that he, for example, had to be very concerned with what was said about him in the Austin American-Statesman. Now, this confused me. I knew this fellow was from a barely suburban part of North Texas. I expressed surprise that so many of his constituents subscribed to leftist garbage from half a state away. He stammered and spluttered before admitting that no one back home actually read it. It was just that he, personally, didn't like having the socialist rag write negatively about him. He put the applause of critics who could not vote for him ahead of the desires of the constituents who could. You might not be surprised to learn his Republican constituents grew weary of his shtick. It's easy and correct to condemn such thinking in others, just as it's easy to fall for it ourselves. Which leads me back to that rule. It's easy enough to ignore the unsolicited criticism from anonymous trolls. Harder, perhaps, is when it's people who pretend to be with you, or even tangential to a circle of friends and colleagues. That's why I argue it's critical to ask if you would ever seek out their advice or counsel. When the answer is no, the value of their opinion is revealed. The Apostle Paul knew whose approval he sought and why. Quote, "For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ." That's what he wrote to the church in Galatia. This is a delicate line to walk. We were designed by God to live in community and fellowship with Him and with each other. God gives us our family, friends, colleagues, and social circle to help sharpen and refine us. We are wise to listen to them. Yet the enemy wants to distract us from our mission with the clanging noise of those who want us to fail. We listen to them at our peril. We must be diligent in considering only the thoughtful criticism of those we know love us and share our goals. Only then and through them will we be strengthened and improved as we march steadily forward and upward. The Reflections Podcast is presented by Texas Scorecard. I hope you'll take a moment to subscribe, rate it, and recommend it to your friends. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan. Thanks for listening.